You are now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.
We are live. My name's Chris Denman, and I've got the JV squad in with me today. Great guest here in just a minute. I got to tell you, go to Presence Float Center. Get your float on in town and country. Little sensory deprivation. Great sponsor of ours here at We Are Live. Use promo code WAL for a $10 discount. Jeff Jones is in. What's up, Jeff?
I was going to go with Bob Bragg for the fake name today.
Oh,
yeah, well, he didn't ask you, so.
Oh, and Carlie.
Carlie?
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
Shania Twain.
And Shania Twain's in. Our special guest today,
Manny Fresh.
Manny Fresh. Cash Money Man himself, Ben Hochman from the Post Dispatch. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Hey, this is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's nice.
Our pleasure.
A little nicer feel than when you get on the radio. You feel like, oh, people are in their car. We can kind of relax here at Shock City.
Oh, no question about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Past the Cavassier.
Yes, exactly. Ben is a journalist for the Post Dispatch. Came back from Denver, gosh, almost 2 years ago now?
Yeah. I'm from here originally, Clayton High School.
Yeah.
And 2015.
2015, you're back. How's it feel to be back in 2017?
I mean, it's surreal. My whole life's changed in a way. Lost 25 pounds, met a girl, got married. There you go. Got the dream job, and I got to meet you. And
right.
Well,
I was going to say,
all in 2 years.
Going.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So there's hope for me still.
Yeah, you can make it happen.
Come on, Carlie.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
No, I was excited to get you in here because it's like, okay, well, we have you on. Our friends at VES are slowly but surely finalizing that they're part of our program and making you a part of that. But then being able to talk to you, I know you've probably told your story 700 times, but I don't know, wanted to talk a little Cardinals, a little sports, but at the same time, there are so many interesting things, and I feel like we have like 10 connections to each other.
Sure.
From Columbia or St. Louis or wherever we were.
Brothers,
Tinder.
right?
Yeah, well, there is that as well. Yeah, Tinder as well. As far, man, being single in St. Louis, there are a lot of nurses available on dating apps.
Yeah,
Jeff,
how about that? Lots of that.
Oh, I have a dating app story I can tell.
Let's hear it.
I love.
Well, all I know is that. So my wife and I, Angela, we were like, I had this idea. And we're gonna,
Highlighted in the New York Times, by the way. Congratulations on the spread.
we tried to get it. The only way that happened, we were in the New York Times. It was really cool. We tried to get in the St. Louis Jewish Light, which is A, the best Jewish newspaper in St. Louis.
Of course.
B, the smallest newspaper in the United States.
Yes.
So we reached out. It's a big deal for my family, get in the paper.
Absolutely.
It's a weekly paper. So we reach out to them. They liked our story so much. They reached out to the biggest newspaper in the world, the New York Times, and so we were in two newspapers, the smallest in the country and the biggest in the country, Jewish Light and New York Times.
The Jewish Light, which is famous for featuring Yale Hollander a few weeks before on the cover.
Lindenwood Hollander, of course.
Lindenwood Hollander. He wore
do.
a Lindenwood shirt the other night at our comedy show.
Yeah, and I have to mention it because Chris made fun of me this morning for thinking that you would be excited, but I went to Protzel's yesterday for lunch because I missed the East Coast so much.
Well, I mean, all right, this is turned into a Ben Hochman showing off fest, which I love.
Of course.
But so again, like I'm big in the late '60s, early '70s Jewish community. Like that's
You're
where
a
I'm
star.
Big. So guess who's getting his own sandwich at Protzel's?
Get out of here!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Is there litter spread on it?
Not yet.
Okay.
To be honest, you caught me on a good day. Like we're still figuring it out. But I want to have a potato knish cut in half, opened up, pastrami on top, some spicy mustard, close that thing. Oh, what's the Ben Hochman? Pastrami on knish.
I will go there every day for
I was
lunch
gonna
until
say,
I fall over. Until October.
I'll eat Hochman's all day long on that side.
like,
Dude, that's excuse
No,
me,
you're fine. You're
Sam.
friggin'.
Work it out.
You said the F word.
We're gonna keep it
Just
clean
talk
today
about this.
for the Post Dispatch.
Well, all right. But we're talking about dating apps. Real quick, I'll make it quick. I know we're talking about real stuff, like actual journalism and all. So I had this idea. I told my wife, she goes, "This is genius." We have a friend, Evan, a female actually, and she's hopelessly single and wants to find a guy. And she was telling us about this date she went on. She's like, "I just didn't work out. I wish he never called me back. I swear, if I just had a second date." she said. If I just had a second date, I think I could have done well. So Benjamin Hochman comes up with 2-date minimum.
2-date minimum.
It's
I
Tinder,
like that.
it's the whole thing, except you agree before the first date to go on a second date regardless.
So there's no bailing out early.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then
you're going to have to come back and face this person.
Right, and you can relax on the date. You're not worried about like with me when I was single. I'm like I'd take like spoons out and start playing songs on the glass. It's
Right.
like ding dong ding 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 ding. Try to entertain them. I'm all nervous.
It's in your head. Knees weak, arms ready. Spaghetti.
I
Mom
did enjoy
spaghetti.
that. I saw Carlie's face when you said
Mackay
2-date minimum.
Pfeiffer.
What percentage of first dates do you want to go to a second date?
Ooh.
A lot of them.
Okay. when he said 2-date minimum, you were like, you got this look that to me said, I don't want to go on a second date with a
No,
lot
it
of
was
these
more
people.
like, oh, that's a great idea.
Okay, fair. I don't know anything.
So I might. So I'll just ask you, Carlie.
Yeah.
How much do you think it costs to make an app? Because I didn't know. Like if I said gun to your head, how much does it cost to make an app? What would you say?
$100.
All right. Well, that's I guessed like $2,000.
$1,000.
Yeah, I would
I would've
say
said
functional.
10.
Yeah.
So Angela-
you would have said 10 grand.
10 grand. All
I
right.
would have said 2.
My wife knows
That's
a
what
guy.
I'm going with that.
I'll take $1, Bob.
Oh.
My wife sets us up with the guy, the
Yeah.
internet guy, the app guy, and I make my pitch 2-date minimum, and we talk, and he's like, I love it, oh my god, I'm like, this is like, I'm morphing into Mark Zuckerberg while sitting there,
Right.
like I'm gonna be a billionaire.
You're already planning where your philanthropic plans are going to go.
Yeah.
You're like, I could technically own the Jewish life.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's something I could do.
Which island will I buy?
Correct.
And so all these things are going through my head, and he's loving. He goes, "I'll send you a pitch. I'll send you the whatever." I'm like, "All right." So a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, the email pops up, and it's going to be how much it's going to cost. I click it open again. I'm thinking $2,000, $29,700.
Is that mostly commission for him?
I was
don't
gonna
know.
say.
No, but I just couldn't
interest?
believe it. Like, but I was thinking like
That's insane.
maybe 3,000. Maybe
Right.
I ask my mom for a couple dollars. Mom, can you help me out? You're like,
Right.
$29,700 to start this app.
He was going to write stories all summer long to pay for this
I
app.
was going
Right.
to say, how many inches of cardinal coverage equates to $29,000?
I know, right? Golly.
It's weird because you could probably make that argument where they're like, you stand to make $1 million in the first year, and it needs to be scalable and functional and all that stuff. But
Right.
that seems steep, man.
Yeah, well, I didn't do it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. But so now someone listening.
Copyright.
Right.
Yeah.
Copyright.
It's
Benjamin
copyright.
Hochman.
It's copyrighted.
2-date minimum.
Copyright.
Oh man.
Copyright.
So let's get into this. So you were at Mizzou, our friend Thatcher Kamen.
Sure, my
always,
pledge son.
he was your pledge son. Always let you know. Do you have a connection? Was Tim Convey at Mizzou when you were?
No, but my buddy Brad Lamers, I grew up with Brad Lamers up till 6th grade. We used to
Okay.
play Blades of Steel on
Yeah.
Nintendo at his house.
Of course.
Hockey. That's a hockey game.
Nice.
Yeah. And Brad then went to Priory.
Okay.
Because he's fancy. And that's
And
where he met
Tim's
Tim Convey.
elite. Yeah, he went to Priory
Yeah,
as
totally.
well.
So that's how I met Tim Convey. And he's funny. He's, oh my goodness.
Very funny
One of
guy.
the funnier convies I know.
Yeah, I agree.
He's up
yeah.
there.
His sister's pushing him. She's
Yeah.
nipping at his heels.
Sure.
So Mizzou, where'd you go after? You've spent time in New Orleans,
New
Denver,
Orleans.
and how
Yeah.
was New Orleans?
Oh my God! I was talking off air about how I used to be fat. New Orleans. I mean, everything is fried.
It's so good.
It's unbelievable. I lived there from 2002 to 2007, and you drink, you eat, you write. It was just an amazing time. Now Hurricane Katrina hit.
Yeah,
That sucked.
great point.
That was bad.
Yes.
But the nothing necessarily good came out of it. But I wrote my first book about Hurricane Katrina and the love of football.
Yes.
In New Orleans and how the community found football and the whole thing. So that was for me. I was proud.
Did you feel at home in New Orleans just because there are so many similarities between St. Louis and New Orleans? I mean, I don't know if that was apparent to you at the time. I'm sure you were just pumped to be in New Orleans.
Right. No, honestly, only when I came back to St. Louis. St. Louis, which I love, of course, is fascinating because when you grow up, you're 14, you're 13, you're
Correct.
a kid.
You don't know the bars to hit, the
Right.
wine bar. You don't know any of that stuff. The social life. You're like, yeah, I go to the movies and maybe the mall.
Right,
I don't
the
know.
Applebee's by the Esquire.
Exactly.
I will say this, and this was perhaps the best parenting thing that my parents did when I was a kid. My dad always worked he was in Clayton, where there now is a Target, or downtown in the Met Square building. And especially in the summer, maybe once a month or so, he would have my sister and I come meet him for lunch, and they would take us us to like really divey, like South City-ish kind of places, right? And play it up as a big thing. So then growing up, like I have this appreciation for, okay, like I'm 17 and I know where O'Connell's is, right? So I can like figure that out. That was definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, shout out to the Joneses.
Hey!
I got to keep up with them.
No,
I hate myself.
Ben.
Delete that. Delete that. We got to
Sam, mark that down.
You always see that on the on like the Tonight Show or whatever. You're the person like, oh, we'll edit that out. And they never do.
It's so quirky.
Yeah.
So you're in New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina leads to a book. Mm-hmm. Are you gonna continue writing books? When's the next book?
I have one coming out in April of 2018. It's called The Big 50. It's 50 essays about the St. Louis Cardinals.
Look at you.
Yeah, it's a really cool experience. I'm writing it now, and the idea is like each essay. Well, clearly there's an Ozzy one, there's a Stan Musial one, but then there's silly ones too. Like I'm doing a whole chapter about Tom Lawless's bat flip from 1987.
I saw you tweeting about that.
Yeah,
I'm
great. Obsessed. Yeah, and then that one guy.
Yes,
Literally,
Todd Thomas. Yeah.
That's so. Todd Thomas is the guy at the Cardinal games who has the microphone. He goes, "Let's talk to the fans between the innings." And he's been doing it since 1996, which may, Carlie, be the year you were born.
Right. Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, close. Right? No, I mean that as like a compliment.
Yeah.
But he's been doing it for 21 seasons. So I had lunch with him, and he had these amazing stories, and so stories like that intertwined with like the
and that's what
stuff.
you do a great job of that in your columns for the Post Dispatch and bringing in St. Louis. We get a little ahead of ourselves sometimes in sanctity and issues that involve things that not everybody's comfortable with and all these things. So I was like turning in, whether it's we were just talking about it, doing a profile on Zach Freeman, MMA fighter, or the next day you're looking for a vendor from the 90s. You still haven't found it. Let's make a shout out.
If anybody knows, it's Marlon or Marion, as you said the last time I was on your radio show, Marlon or Marion. It's one or the other because I couldn't tell. It was on his name tag, MAR, and then there was like a line, which I thought was an I, but then someone thought it was a lowercase L in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was the guy in the 1990s who would walk around and say, "Anybody want a soda and a free straw?" And for 9-year-old any of us, we were like, "That's comedy. Yeah, that's comedy.
This guy gets it."
Josh Blue, he's nothing. He's a nobody. But Marion or Marlon, now that is comedy.
He's bringing the heat. So first of all, you had to never think that so you're in New Orleans, right? So you have a great experience there. Make your way to Denver.
Well, New Orleans. New Orleans, were you Saints beat, Pelicans beat?
Yeah. Early on, I was covering Tulane.
Okay.
I did a lot of the sports, but then I became an NBA beat writer.
So with the Pelicans, that was right about when they were like, I'm bad at the NBA. They were coming to New Orleans.
So it was the Hornets, and then Hurricane Katrina hits.
Right.
I moved to Oklahoma City for half the year because that's where the New Orleans, Oklahoma City Hornets were.
Right.
And I covered the NBA for many years because then when I went to Denver, I was the Nuggets writer. And so I might have crossed paths with you, Carlie.
That's very possible.
You guys recognize each other?
I might have gazed awkwardly
There's
at
a lot of
you
Jews.
in
I've met a lot of
2012.
Jews in my life, so
There you go, Carlie. Congratulations.
thank you.
So you make your way to Denver. And then I don't know. Was the goal the whole time to get back to St. Louis?
No, the goal the whole time was. So many jokes are going through my head that I can't say that. I can't say that. I guess I should just say what the actual goal was, which was to become a sports columnist.
Sure.
And I love the idea of being one of the sports voices of a city, getting to be creative, getting to share my opinions, of course. And so that was my goal. So I moved to Denver to become the Denver Nuggets beat writer with an eye on getting the columnist gig.
Right.
And I was fortunate to get that at age 33, which was a kind of neat thing.
It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, because they're mostly like 66-year-olds.
Of course. And then in Denver, too, which has just been, obviously since the marijuana boom, but at the same time, it's been growing.
Yeah.
It's just been going up.
Rapidly.
Yeah. No, but they have all four sports teams plus University of Colorado. It's a big sports scene. My favorite contribution to their newspaper, though, was my NBA blog, which I called the NBA, the National Burger Adventure.
Look at you.
And
wow.
I would go to these NBA games. I'd go to Memphis. I'd go to New York, and I would write about my favorite cheeseburger that I had in that city. And it kind of like a cult following.
Of course.
Great.
Literally dozens of clicks on these
I was going to
stories.
say at least 20 to 23.
I'd read it. That's awesome.
Have either of you two gone burger hopping in Denver?
I've
Not
never
in
done
Denver.
any
I've been
time
to
outside of
Cherry
it.
Cricket. I
Yeah.
did the dartboard. It was pretty fantastic.
It's really good.
Yeah.
My favorite one that I wrote. I always said I wanted this on my tombstone when I die, but now that I have
Not the frozen pizza.
touche.
Yeah.
But now that I have a wife, I probably have like or Angela's husband, or
Beloved
whatever.
husband of Angela.
beloved
yeah.
aunt, like
Yes.
on Larry David or Kirby Enthusiast.
Which, by the way, you're slowly becoming a St. Louis. I mean, you're not grumpy enough, but you do a show for your newspaper where you drive around in a car.
Yeah.
Right. So that's Seinfeld-esque.
Oh, yeah.
You're the sandwich thing that's coming in. I like your chances.
Oh,
of,
thank you.
Of
Yeah.
kind of making your way to that.
Yeah, last night at the Cardinal game, I was sitting there and I was giving my list of pet peeves at the Cardinal game, like, and stop it, Larry David. My top pet peeve was racism.
Okay.
My
Yep, good
second
one.
pet peeve is actual baseball one was someone who retrieves a foul ball and then it works the next day. I caught a foul ball last night.
Right.
Oh, you caught it? Oh, it was hit right to
On
you
the
and you made a
fly.
great catch?
On the fly. Did you bring a glove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it bounced. I was in section 244. It bounced in section 240, rolled, and I went and got it, and I caught a foul. No, you did not catch it. You retrieved. That's a pet peeve.
What about adults wearing gloves to games?
My friend Alex Wolf was at the game with us, and he said if you've been bar mitzvahed, you can't bring a glove.
We could let's
13.
start working on this. So bar mitzvah, no glove. How do you feel about my rule of no wearing jerseys of anyone you're physically larger than? I can't wear a Colton Wong
Come
jersey.
on, man. What am I gonna do?
Get in shape.
I don't want to wear a Greg Robinson jersey. Like, what do I have?
What team is he? What team is on
Yeah, I
now?
want the Lions.
He got traded. Yeah.
I'd like to maybe put together a periodical
Well,
with
if I
you.
can,
with,
if I can
that
add to this,
yes, you may.
but another pet peeve of mine, and we'll get to the burger in a moment, and then maybe some actual stuff. Is,
Sure.
Is the idea of like someone has a jersey? It'll be like it'll say like Hornsby. And like a number, or back when they didn't have names on the back,
It's like an anachronistic,
like Ruth.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it never said they didn't have their name.
It never existed.
Yeah, but they have like Ruth 3 on a Yankees jersey. And
That's
like,
a good
that makes me
point.
mad.
While we're talking jerseys, do you get a chance to go to many/any games as a fan as opposed to working?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
He gave up the opportunity tonight, actually.
Would you feel uncomfortable wearing like a Cardinals jersey?
Me personally?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely neutral in that
Right.
regard. Like, clearly, I can't hide from the fact that I grew up in St. Louis.
Right.
And, for a part of my life, it was like, go Cards, go. But, like, now as the naturally distinguished columnist
Quite.
for the Post Dispatch, I can't be Rudy. I can
Sure.
be Rudy in flag
We
football.
can carry you off the field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
can't be Rudy.
Be careful in that the real Rudy spoke at my high school. We wanted to boo him off the stage.
It was that
Terrible
bad,
speaker.
huh?
I've heard he's not great. I've heard that
Oh,
he sort of like
man.
played that whole thing up, and I think it was Joe Montana said they carried him off like as a joke, right? And it becomes this like,
If you think about it, I mean,
Yeah.
that would make sense.
Yeah. You can imagine them actually watching the movie and they're
Right.
like, oh my God.
well, I know a lot of them actually had a big problem because Dan Devine comes off terribly in that movie, and
Yeah.
he was not that guy. Like he was a nice guy who
Right.
liked Rudy a lot.
Yeah.
And they just needed a villain, so poor Dan Devine gets dragged.
So before I forget, let's talk about my tombstone when I die.
Okay.
Again, beloved aunt.
I love that episode.
And I guess Angela's husband.
Yeah.
But then I want this article taped on there. You tape it.
Yes, I think so.
Can you pin it on there?
You'd have to get some extra. Yeah, let's be cost efficient.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Super
it needs to be
glue.
removable.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they'll swap it out
Well, I got
after
the
a
things
rain.
they have now outside of
Laminate
like laminate outside of classrooms, like the plastic sheet where you drop it in.
That'll
we
work.
want we want drop it in, but we want authenticity. People
Right.
shaking the
Yeah.
paper out
Yeah.
on
I want
his
people
grave.
reading it. If
Of
need be.
course.
So this was, again, I would go to different NBA cities
Mm-hmm.
and write the National Burger Adventure about my favorite burger. So I went to Charlotte and I was like, here's my idea. And I went into McDonald's and I pretended as if I'd never heard of McDonald's. And I'm like, oh man, there must be a big Scottish community in Charlotte.
Oh, Ben.
And I went up to the women at the front, the thing, and I was like, so what's good here? And they're like, and I pretended the whole thing, and I wrote this whole thing about how had never been. I found this gem, this diamond in this rough, this burger place you gotta check out if you're ever in Charlotte.
In Charlotte,
called McDonald's.
big food city as well. Too.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, what? You didn't go to the. Okay,
Yeah.
so
I wrote the
McDonald's.
whole thing about
Nice.
that. Oh, and I was like, oh, the Big Mac. Oh, the secret
my
sauce.
For Bobcats coverage at the time.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Nuggets,
Like-
Bobcats.
Yeah, they don't even exist anymore.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So anyway, that was my favorite thing I ever wrote.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Was it received well?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was like, nobody got. I
That's
hope
awesome.
people got it. Like,
yeah, of course it. Yeah.
I like a world where a few people didn't get it though.
I do hope there were like one or two letter to the editor
Handwritten.
writers.
Handwritten.
Yeah.
Handwritten.
Without incriminating or alienating, do people still complain readily to your bosses about not maybe your work but paperwork in general? It's a time-honored tradition.
Oh.
A letter to the editor, basically complaining and misspelling the words. In
Right.
Yeah.
Complaints happen constantly, and now in a social media era, everybody of every age gets to complain in many different forums.
Right.
And I don't think complaining has ever been bigger in America.
It's a big deal.
It is so big.
Yeah.
It's like, remember when Earth Day and recycling got big in the
Yeah.
early 90s?
Captain Planet.
Yeah, this is the exact same with complaining in 2017.
Well, and this actually is really interesting to me because at this particular moment in American history, like last week you kind of branched out a little further, maybe
Oh
I
my
think safe to say
gosh.
than you usually would. Was
No,
that?
I mean-
was it? Well, I'm not. Okay,
No,
it should not
you're
be
right.
extreme to say that Nazis are bad.
Right.
But you were willing to express that, I think, more publicly than you have in the past, at least
it's
since
been
you've been back.
interesting. Yeah, like when I really like to write when I can about social issues, notably gay rights in sports, LGBT. I mean, I feel like we're gonna look back, 50 years from now, and be like, what? The way we look back at the 1950s and the water fountains are like, what?
Yeah.
So I try to write about that when I can. And in Denver, I did it a lot. So I like to be politically, I guess, aware,
Yeah.
or just human.
Yeah,
You know,
Sure.
That's
but-
what I said.
yeah.
I'm like, or we could just all kind of expect people to be normal.
Right,
Like,
right.
Yeah.
So the other people always say stick to sports. That's the line. Stick to sports. Stick to sports. What are you doing?
That, yeah.
And I tweeted something. I mean, again, Nazis.
Like not an exaggeration, literal Nazis.
Yeah, and I tweeted something about the president and Nazis and basically, long story long, was somebody wrote back like, stick to sports. I don't follow you for politics. And I'm like, all right, here's the deal. How about this? I've tweeted 47,995 times. 47,994 of them were about sports. Every time the United States president does something that is somewhat praiseworthy towards Nazis, I'll tweet about it. How's that?
Seems reasonable.
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
So you've covered like close to a dozen pro teams between three cities, right?
Yeah.
So in all of those, with your penchant toward appreciating like a social issues consciousness in sport, have you ever had, whether it's front office people, players, or whatever, anybody, I guess from either side, either approach you and be like, I read this, I really appreciate that, or give you the stick to sports without naming names, right?
Well, what's funny is the irony of this. Who do we bash the most in St. Louis media? It's Stan Kroenke. But his son, Josh Kroenke, was the president of the NBA team, the Denver Nuggets. And it was just, so what I'm doing is I'm in a good way. He was very...
He would have been a freshman at Mizzou when you were a senior?
Flip it. No, we were the same high school age. Josh.
Oh, you and Josh were the same age.
I was born May
Okay.
5th, 1980. I believe he's May 3rd, 1980.
Wow.
Like, yeah, we're right there.
That would be a really interesting dynamic.
and
So,
Ellie Kemper, May 2nd, 1980.
Yes.
Right? It was a big week.
It was.
Big week for
big week.
Missouri
Yeah.
folks.
Three greats of our state.
I put those three on the same mountain. Yeah.
But anyway, so I interviewed Josh for this piece when Michael Sam came out, and it was just like this confluence of things in my life and his life because it was Michael Sam going to the Rams.
Okay.
So
Right.
we had Josh Kroenke, former Mizzou athlete. Dad owns the Rams.
Yep.
Josh runs an NBA team. Rams get the gay player. And then you have me who went to Mizzou and covering these teams,
Right.
and I'm from St. Louis. And Josh was, my point of this is that he was very, very open and honest and talking about how cool it was for the Rams to do this. And what is he going to do? Like, he's not going to say the opposite.
Yeah.
But he was just so authentic and honest with his quotes. I was like, this is really cool. And it was a very big column, and because very seldom does a team president talk that openly about an issue like that, and it made for a really cool column. I was really proud of that, and obviously worked out.
Very memorable as well. Yeah, that's excellent. So, all right. So in the grand scheme of things, you're, I don't know, you've had enough to kind of know exactly who you are, but maybe not enough to look back reflectively at this point. And maybe you've already said it, what's been your most exciting piece that you've covered within, all the work that you've done? Do you have one?
Oh, you're talking about a game or something?
Anything, maybe something jumps out that you wrote. What's got you going the most out of your work that you've been able to put out?
My goodness. So we talked about Hurricane Katrina, which again sucked.
Not good.
Not good. The New Orleans Saints. I compare Saints and Cardinals fans a lot.
Yeah.
The way the Saints are to that city and the fans, Cardinals are to us here.
Sure.
And so I wasn't a columnist. I was writing. And 2006, they had their first game back at the Superdome. The Saints, who were always bad, they'd just gotten Drew Brees and just gotten a new coach and just gotten Reggie Bush, and who was supposed to be amazing. And they won their first 2 games on the road, so they're 2-0. They're never 2-0.
Right.
And they're coming back to the Superdome. It's the first game in the Superdome in New Orleans since Katrina. And if you recall, this vision of this strong, sturdy building getting hit with the hurricane, and then
tons of people inside suffering,
so it was like this amazing event that they're reopening New Orleans, if you will. Here's a symbol of our strength. So it was an emotional day leading up to the game. Oh, and they're playing the Falcons, their biggest rival. We're at the game, and we're sitting there. The Falcons win the toss, and they get the ball. Michael Vick can't seem to get a first down, punt. And I'll never forget this like bone chill that occurred. They snap it for the punt, and Steve Gleason. Yeah. And I'd gotten to know this guy, and what a curveball we're gonna get to in a moment. But Steve Gleason was talking about Rudy. He was, white, I hate to say white guy. He was a thin guy. He had like long hair, like super long hair,
wild
like rock
man
star.
looking. Yeah.
And he was a really good football player, and he loved New Orleans. Like, I hate to say it, a lot of the athletes, they move to New Orleans, they just go straight to the suburbs. Yeah. But Steve Gleason like lived in uptown New Orleans. He'd go like the local bars. He'd go to the restaurants. He
got in the mix of it.
Yeah. I would see him out at like bars that I thought were cool, and like he married a New Orleans girl. He was just like a dude in New Orleans. Loved the music.
Fantastic.
He was like the greatest human. And so of all the people to do what I'm about to say, it was Steve Gleason. They hiked the punt snap the punt. He comes in and like a Superman, flying forward. The hair looks like a cape, blocks the punt.
Yes.
The ball bounces. Teammate picks it up, runs it, touchdown.
Unbelievable.
Never has anything ever been louder ever than
can't
that
imagine.
stadium.
Yeah.
And your hair's rising on your, it was surreal. You couldn't have scripted it better.
It goes down in that team's history highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and they end up winning the game. They end up going to the playoffs for the first time since like 1836 or something like that.
35.
But it's 1835, sure. And then so it was just an amazing moment. There's now a statue outside of the Superdome of Gleason blocking the punt.
That's cool.
And I remember interviewing him after the game, and he's getting teary-eyed, and I'm getting teary-eyed, and I'm like, this moment is like bigger than all of us. Like, Steve's like, and he said something like, I blocked that punt for every inch of the stadium.
That's crazy that he was caught. He understood the size of everything that he was a part of.
And then like I saw your face when I brought him up, because it's just wildly tragic. Like, of all the people, Steve Gleason got ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and he's dying. Yeah. And they've done a documentary about him and his perseverance and all that. But I mean,
gut-wrenching to watch.
Gut-wrenching.
Well.
Yeah.
When you were talking about things that Ben had written, the first thing of yours that I read when you were coming here was the piece that you had written. I guess when you were in Denver
about McDonald's.
That one. No, the Game 6 2011 piece where you and your fiance as well, right?
Was girlfriend.
Your girlfriend. Sorry. So you had a girlfriend, I guess, that had passed away suddenly when you were out on the road, and then that piece was all about like your connection between that game and her and your life together, like that. That I mean, people in St. Louis, I think, obviously all have their own story about that game, right, and their spot with that game. But that from you, I mean, that was fascinating, like, and heart-wrenching to read.
I mean, I wanted to share the story. I mean, I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and everything was supposed to happen. We had a dog, the whole thing, and I was on the road covering a basketball game in Cleveland, and she passed away unexpectedly, surprisingly, obviously, at our home. So my whole world turned upside down, and this was in January of 2011. And you don't wish it on your worst enemy.
No,
or maybe on those Nazis. But,
yes,
but you don't wish it on.
Callback.
Kind of like that. Yeah, and
comedy.
That Hochman, he's good at calling back to those Nazis. She was so cool, and I was like, how can I live my life like for her, like just like seize the day, have some fun, but it was that first year. It's still tough.
Unimaginable.
It's unimaginable. So it was 2011 Cardinal season. I'm living in Denver, following the Cardinals from afar. They're 10.5 out on August 25th. This team stinks. Another crappy year. They haven't been in the playoffs for a few years. And then all these magical, weird things started happening. And then, of course, there was that famous night where they beat the Astros. Carp pitches his butt off. And then we're watching. And I wish I had, like, when we were kids in, like, 1990, my parents got, we weren't even, like, rich. I don't know how we got this TV, but it was the picture-in-picture TV.
Yeah.
Magnavox. And you could watch, you could watch Roseanne.
Right.
And then you could have the KPLR Cardinal game against the Expos in the little box down there.
Yeah.
And we're, so we're watching, anyway, I wish we'd had it that night because the Braves are playing the Phillies and the Red Sox are playing the Rays and all
everything
stuff.
fell into place.
Yeah.
It was so crazy.
And so, of course, we know the story. They go to the World Series. I flew in for Game 6. And my whole point was I'm like, this is too inexplicable to be happening normally.
Yeah.
Somebody from above, a.k.a. Aaron, must be stirring this up. She must be, have her hand in this. And then, the David Freese triple, the David Freese home run. And then the next night they win it all. And I just remember that feeling of like, I've never been more sad and I've never been more happy simultaneously. So, it was crazy.
But I mean, this is, okay, maybe this is me projecting weird stuff. When that happens and you're like out on the road covering a game, the next time you go out to cover a game, is there like an anxiety that comes along with that? Like, is it, I mean, I don't,
I'll never go to
Cleveland. Does it feel different? Okay.
Like, I'll never go to Cleveland again. Yeah. I can't do that. Okay. But no, you're talking about, leaving.
Just in general, the feeling of being at a game, like in a press box, because it's sort of insular. Like, I mean, you have your Twitter in front of you, but otherwise you're very just dialed into the game and the game only. I mean, like, was that a strange feeling for you to be? I mean,
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, weird emotions are stick with you. You're lathered by them, and even like if I text Angela, my wife, and she doesn't text me back right away, I'm not immediately thinking it, but like if I text her again, I'm like, all right, lady,
you have to quiet it.
You got a scar.
Text me back. And she's amazing about it and the whole thing.
She is, and we'll have to get into that. I mean, I know we got to get you out of here. We got Josh Blue about to come on as well, but nice. You and Angela it's been a blast to watch you guys be excited online, and again too, what a unique relationship. And then as far as you are on Twitter, that's like you get paid to put information out there.
Right.
And for you to put all this stuff out there, it's been a pleasure to see. And I'm excited to see where you guys go and then what you do being the Larry David of St. Louis.
I like it. She's the Cheryl Hines. Yeah.
I was going to ask if she was Cheryl Hines or if she was Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Like, which one is she more?
Man.
Oh, she's more Cheryl Hines.
She's more Cheryl Hines?
Yeah, she's goofy, but she's not like
she's not Elaine.
Elaine was kind of nuts.
She'll put up with you. She'll put up with you, but like let's reel it in a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what we need. Ben, thanks for coming by, man.
Super fun. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Follow Ben online at Twitter at Hochman. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
We are live and we're back with Josh Blue, comedian. He's in town this weekend. He's at Hey Guys Comedy Club. You can check him out over on the Illinois side. And I believe Tim Convey is part of the show as well, friend of our show. That's the 25th and 26th, 8 and 10 p.m. Friday, 7, 9:15 p.m. Saturday. Again, check it out. Hey Guys Comedy Club. It's 5225 North Illinois, 159 in Fairview Heights. $20. Get tickets online, heyguyscomedy.com/tickets. So very excited to have Josh Blue. What's up, man? Good to talk to you.
Oh, hey, guys.
It's Chris Denman, Carlie Lawrence, bullshitting with Josh. Josh, beforehand, we were talking with Ben Hochman. He's a former columnist in Denver, where you're from, I believe. And he said, oh, you're having Josh Blue on. He's super funny. And our friend Nate Kreckman is the connector. Yeah. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, Kreckman was an old buddy from the comedy club, and now he's a radio voice for like sports radio. Yeah,
that's what so Ben's back here in St. Louis, and he was excited to hear another Colorado voice was jumping on. So one other thing, and Carlie, you're gonna laugh. I get so we interview a lot of comedians, and we have such a good time. Yeah, right? We have such a good time. I do a podcast with a guy named Ian Bagg. Are you familiar with Ian?
Yeah, I know Ian.
Yeah. Whenever Ian hears, we talk offline or whatever, and then we do our podcast once a week. He's very, very honest with me if people's acts are good. Ian's a purist, and he's and the first thing he said, Josh Blue, very funny. Have him on. Make sure you have him on. Very funny.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
awesome. Well, yeah. Believe the hype.
So you're coming to Hey Guys. We're excited about that. But also, man, you're kicking it. I keep hearing your name more and more. And then obviously you had a big run on TV. What's it been like, I guess, post TV acknowledgement, fame, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, I won Last Comic, can you believe, 11 years ago?
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's been all downhill since then, really. So.
It's crazy. Time flies with that stuff, man, too.
It really does. I'm just glad I'm not a flash in the pan.
As am I.
This cripple's got some legs, man.
This far into your career, does people still bring up or focus on, or I don't even want to say inappropriately, you're a fucking ninja as far as repertoire and comedy, things like that, but as far as is people bringing up your disability, or is that something that you get annoyed with or that you deal with, I guess, is something that I would get into?
I mean, I guess the way I feel about it is like I'm always going to be the comic with cerebral palsy. I've tried to change that, but the truth is everything I talk about comes from the perspective of a disabled person.
Yeah.
But I will say that my show is definitely not about disability, but it does come from the perspective that I've always known. I don't know anything else. I mean, there was a while where I was trying to do my show from a fat black woman point of view, but that didn't come across right.
Right. Ms. Pat came storming through and
like,
just... I think we could revisit that, Josh. Maybe in about 5 years, you try that act again.
It might work.
Yeah, I think so. I just keep eating, I guess.
I had noticed this, and of course, you get all kinds of different comedic perspectives and talents. Carlos Mencia, you were on his show, correct?
Yeah, back in the day. That was even before Last Comic.
Which is crazy, too. He was on top of the world, had a very public dust-up with Ari Shaffir, Joe Rogan, those types.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess I feel like maybe he's came, and who knows what the bottom line is, what the guy's made, things like that. I've heard people talk really nicely about him too. I feel like Brad Williams talks very positively about him as well. Mm-hmm. And then you have other folks like we mentioned, Ari Shaffir, Rogan, that despised him at the time. I don't know what it's like now, but I guess I found that to be interesting that somebody super talented like you worked with him. I didn't realize that, and I wanted to get your opinion, I guess, on his career and how he's treated you.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. Well, the truth of the matter is we got hooked up pretty early in my career. So when I was just kind of starting out, I was working at the Comedy Works, which is in Denver, which is
very popular venue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the top 3 in the nation, I would say. And, he was coming through, and a server was just like, hey, Mencia, you should see this young kid. He's got some talent. And, I didn't know any better at the time, so he threw me up on stage. And when I came off, he's like, you can open for me anytime you want.
Interesting.
Right on.
And how long had you been doing comedy at that point?
I had started in college, so I kind of had a, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Okay, if you were gonna give me that bullshit that you were like, oh, my friends made me go up for open mic, it was my first. I was like, no, Josh, that ain't happening.
I actually studied stand up at the college that I went to. I went to a real hippie liberal arts college that let me create my own major, and I actually studied stand up, which basically was me renting Richard Pryor tapes and getting high.
Sounds about right.
I fucking aced it.
Which, I mean, that's kind of most people's college experience anyway.
You just got credits for it.
Right. You were smarter than the rest of us. So he took you under his wing.
So yeah, and then basically he was coming back through Comedy Works about every 6 months, and each time he would come back, he'd add 2 or 3 shows to the weekend, to the point where he was doing 8 shows a week at the comedy club, and he let me do that. And then from there, he told me he's getting his own show, and he basically said, as soon as I got my show, you were the first one that I thought to put on it. And this is still before any of that come out about stealing jokes. And
right.
And then from there, once he got his own show, he was playing, 3,000 seat venues and letting me perform at any of them. And
that's insane.
I
That's
really
awesome.
attribute a lot of my success to those shows, because by the time I made it to Last Comic, those big venues were already old hat,
Yeah.
That's great.
I felt very comfortable. And then throughout the tour was kind of when that stuff started leaking out about him stealing jokes. And to me, the way I looked at it as well, he's always been good to me. And if he starts doing cerebral palsy material, then I'm got him.
I got you, fucker. Yeah. It makes sense. I get it, because to you, he's still somebody that did a ton for you. And you, again, going up in front of 2,000-3,000 people every night and having to get better, having to work out that material, that's a quick rise. And you met the challenge, but it would be tough to turn your back on somebody like that. I could completely understand that.
Well, yeah, and to me, it's like I'm also a purist of the craft. Like,
yeah,
I hate prop comics and magicians and all that bullshit. I think it's you and a microphone, that's what it is. And I definitely do not condone joke thievery, but also I will plead ignorance in the fact that when you're young and you don't know what the hell's going on, like, I was just naive to the severity of what he was doing. And the other side of it, once I did find out, because remember, he used to be doing like 4-hour shows.
Yeah.
He would do like the longest sets ever. And I said, one day I was like, dude, listen, if you just stuck to your time, you wouldn't have to steal material.
He was getting greedy on the time he would go up there.
Right. You have enough material of your own. You just, when you're hitting hour 4, you start using other people's shit.
That's so much time on stage, Josh. Man, that's crazy. And I just, it's an interesting part of comedy history that you were a part of, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And again, I'll tell you this, all throughout Last Comic, he was very supportive. He was actually in the audience at a couple of my shows. He was there the night that I won. I mean, he would come out and like stand in line and get in the audience to support me, which is pretty cool for a guy of that level,
Absolutely.
To do that.
And you don't always see that.
Again, I don't condone his joke thievery, but the thing that he's done for me was priceless, frankly.
No, that's a very true way to put it. So do you have anybody like that you feel like has either, and maybe you were just so damn good, Josh, that he noticed that. Do you have anybody that you've taken under your wing that you push out there a little bit? I mean, that can be kind of weird bringing openers on the road sometimes, but do you have anybody that's peaked for you or that, I don't know, has a special spot for you as you watch them grow?
Yeah, there's plenty of guys here. Like I said, the Denver comedy scene is one of the top in the nation. There's a bunch of great comics coming out here, and I've always pride myself on bringing really good openers that, I mean, I want someone to kill it in front of me. So many other comics bring a soft open to make them look better. And to me, I want my whole show to look good, and I know that I can raise the bar to whatever I need to. So, the Grolix guys, the guys that do Those Who Can't, a TV show.
Yeah.
Like Ben Roy, Adam Kane Holland, Andrew Orvidal.
It's on True TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ben was just talking about that before we did. Yeah.
Oh, that's the...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean, I took all those guys on the road with me throughout the years. Andrew Orvidal was one of my main openers, and I just saw their potential, and they're such good stand-ups, and I just feel so proud that they've turned that into a series. I mean, what are they in the third season, which is amazing.
It's insane because just the fact that you can even get a meeting to pitch a pilot and then to make it into multiple seasons, now you're talking about something that a very tiny percent of the population has done and done well.
Yeah, and I think the show is great, and I think they're brilliant writers and performers. So, it makes me smile just to see them succeed like that, and I feel good in knowing that I had a small hand in helping them bloom or whatever.
You don't have to get really introspective like that, Josh. It's getting a little emotional now, man. That's messed up.
My smile went away.
Okay, good. I've got you where I want you. Let's put a smile back on. Tell me about your kids, man. Do you have how many kids do you have?
I got 2. My son is 9 and my girl is 7. And they just started school yesterday, so I'm kind of basking in the glory of not having to do shit right now.
Do they think you're funny?
They kind of do. They're not really. They're not big fans of mine.
Well, it's still, you're kind of probably always hitting them with well, listen, if you were 13, I'd give you the good material. They're not seeing the best you.
Oh, I don't pull my punches on them. They're just too dumb to get it.
Well, maybe they could get it figured out. Now, that has to be difficult leaving every weekend to tour the country when you've got a couple great kids at home to hang out with in Colorado.
No, I love it.
Smart man.
I can't wait to get the hell out of here.
Well, it's good that you're coming to beautiful Fairview Heights, Illinois / St. Louis.
It's beautiful this time.
It's the New York of the Midwest.
That's right. Yeah, leaving your beloved Colorado for Illinois / St. Louis. I'm sure plenty of people are jealous.
Leaving legal weed for that shit. It's great.
Right, and which I wanted to talk to you about as well. Looks like you partnered with Mountain High Suckers, a family name here in Missouri for sure. But you've got your own line of edibles, Josh Blue's Dream. Tell me about it, man. That's okay. So how did this happen? And is this just something that anybody who has half a brain is going to get into in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've been partaking in the Mountain High Sucker product for years, and then I've also the guys. I met the owners, and we hit it off real well. So for years now, I mean, they were doing this before recreational weed. They were the medical side, and they are really an amazing company, and I've done advertising for them, and they actually wanted me to buy into their company, but ultimately we just decided to put my face on the package because nothing sells weed candy like a cerebral palsy.
Personally, that's what I look for in weed candy.
You're like, will this lollipop make me look like that guy? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Into it.
Yeah, there's a giant pink elephant on one. There's a Bob Marley. Oh,
This guy.
comedian.
I'm
Yeah,
on palsy, yeah. So, I mean, it's an amazing. I love their product. Like, I wouldn't be a part of it if I didn't really think it worked. And it's funny too because people always ask me, oh, does weed make you feel better? Like, does it help your cerebral palsy? And I'm like, no, it fucks me up more. I just like getting high.
that's in 2017. It's got to feel fantastic to tell people that you've partnered with a legal weed company and you get paid to tell jokes.
Yeah, and it is. It's a pretty beautiful, beautiful Make-A-Wish.
We're proud to be part of that, Josh.
Really, those Make-A-Wish people are really following through with this shit.
Yeah, actually, I'm sending. I'm filling out the paperwork now for our studio time. This will be covered by a nonprofit. So I'm
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, choose between disabled comics or marijuana advocacy. Whichever one. We can go a couple different routes. All right, so
Write it all off. Yep.
So you're pushing through as a parent. Everything working out seems to be going very well for you. Do you want to continue to grow comedically? Do you want to keep doing more specials? Do you want to get more into acting, or are you just going to sit back and eventually be a green tycoon?
I'm just gonna cash it all in and live on welfare. Fuck
Yeah, good choice.
it. Yeah, man. Seems like an easy ride. No, you know what, man? The truth is, I was working on my next special, so this will be my 5th hour that I'm working on.
That's great.
Right on.
So I just feel very like I want to leave my stain on this planet.
Your stain.
Well, you've done a great job so far. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need you to keep making.
And then, obviously, I love doing stand-up, but I really would love to get into more TV and movies. But it turns out Michael J. Fox is just a much better actor.
Well, you'll get him one day, Josh.
Just wait it out, I guess.
Yeah. I guess that's what we're looking forward to. So, Josh.
Well, I was just going to say on the acting front, the truth of the matter is, I've been to enough auditions to know that if the role doesn't call for somebody with cerebral palsy, well, then I'm probably not getting a fucking gig.
Do you think that's bullshit?
It makes sense to a point, but I just wish these casting directors would take a chance.
You mean you aren't getting cast as the high school jock in the teen movies these days?
No, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think that's messed up. I'll put in a good word with some.
I'll call Disney.
Yeah, we know people, Josh.
Oh, please. Well, I'm looking forward to that call.
We'll be sure to do that. Oh man, Josh, it's been a pleasure. We're excited. I know our buddy Tim Convey is either featuring or opening for you. He's very funny and a very nice guy and a friend of our show. So it's going to be a great show.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't put the stamp on it yet and be like, so what'd you think about Tim, Josh?
He's a piece of shit. All right.
I think he'll make you happy. He's a great dude. So you guys, again, all weekend, Friday, Saturday, 8 and 10 p.m. Friday, and then 7 and 9:15 Saturday at Hey Guys Comedy over in Fairview Heights. It's a great place to go. Carlie, you've done a couple sets over there. Yeah, it's a good time
for people.
Well, people and stuff. Well, stop by. I'll give you a guest set.
Oh, man, look at that, Carlie! An offer from Josh Blue. She'll be sniffing around in that Josh Blue's dream if you don't watch her.
I don't know how to take that, but all right.
Well, you'll find out this Friday and Saturday. Josh, I really appreciate you calling in, man, and I'm gonna come stop by and say hey over the weekend.
Yeah, please
It'll
do.
be great to meet you, and thanks to Amy for setting this up. So thanks again, buddy.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Josh Blue, Jonah, we are live.
You are now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.